I'm Pamela Beckett with the Starved Country Community Foundation. We're located in Ottawa, Illinois. I'm happy to be here with you today to talk about some of the funds that we have at the foundation and how we're going to help you be able to direct your own philanthropy through the use of our foundation. I'm really happy to have today Erin Stuedemann with me. Erin and her family have created 2 funds with the Community Foundation. What would you like to know today, Erin?
Well, yeah, my family has created both a scholarship and a fund. And the scholarship is very near and dear to our hearts because it's, of course, in honor of my father, who we lost in November of 2024. But what other funds are offered within the foundation?
Well, we have 6 different funds that immediately come to mind. And so far, if you take that cadre of funds, we have over 129 funds that we've created for people. So I think we could probably start with talking about a scholarship, since that's something that is of interest to you and your family, and you've just gone through your very first year of awarding that scholarship.
Yeah, it was definitely something that meant a lot to us after losing my dad. But what a great opportunity to recognize him, especially when it was so fresh after losing him. We just thought it was a wonderful way to recognize him and memorialize him by giving to somebody else. My dad was a philanthropist. He was an educator. He loved learning. He never stopped learning, even up to the day he passed. He was still learning. And so it was important to us to make sure we found the right person who was also a learner in the sort of field that he liked, which was English and art.
Well, it's quite a legacy, and if I recall, to have the Robert Cotner Memorial Scholarship with us meant a lot to all of us. Your mom, of course, is on our board of directors, and you already had another fund with us. So to have you come back and create a second fund with us, particularly a scholarship to leave such a strong legacy for your dad, was pretty incredible. So when somebody does that, to kind of recap for our audience, when you come to the Community Foundation and you want to create a scholarship, the first thing we do is sit down and talk with you about, like we're doing now, like what is it that you want to honor about your father or the person that you are naming the scholarship for? What traits are you going to be looking for in the student that you award the scholarship to? What would you like to call it? That's kind of the nice thing. We have scholarships named all kinds of different names. It doesn't have to actually be in the name of a person. And we also talk about what type of money you want to invest for the scholarship. We have a minimum right now of $1,000 to create a scholarship. But of course, if you intend to give that scholarship out immediately, you're not going to be wanting to give a $1,000 scholarship. And for a lot of kids, $500 to $1,000 is in fact the entry level these days. So we sit down and go over all of those things with the individual, and then we design the agreement. We put in the name. We put in all of the parameters for the scholarship, and some of those things are quite interesting. Everybody wants a student who's obviously doing fairly well in high school, someone who's well-rounded, perhaps someone who's involved in community service. It could also be someone who specializes in a particular field, as in the case of your dad. You knew you wanted someone who was in the arts or creative writing, English, literature, those types of things.
Right. Yeah, we did find the perfect person to recognize with his scholarship, and she was very humble as well as just appreciative for the money that we were able to share with her.
And I think one of the good things about that is shortly after your dad died, and you made reference to the fact it was relatively soon after he passed away that you were able to put the scholarship in place. But it really spoke volumes to your family to do that quickly and then get a student off to school right away. Yeah. So we try to make sure that we have the scholarship up and running when the original donor wants to get it going. And I think it's important to note that the donors do not have the right to pick the person, to pick the scholarship recipient. And that makes it really fair, number one. Number two, the Starved Country Community Foundation has a scholarship evaluation and review team, and they do not attach any identification to the scholarship applications. So when we get 6 or 7 scholarships in, or 20 scholarships in an application form, the team evaluates those applications, and then they make a recommendation for the person they think should receive it. And that makes sure that, especially if you're in kind of a small community like ours, there's no favoritism and that everybody is treated equally in the application process. So I think it was a very positive experience for you, your family, and I would encourage everyone listening to this today to contact us if you're interested in talking about creating a scholarship. So that's one of our primary funds, and it's one of the most enjoyable, along with a couple other funds I'll tell you about that are equally fun for us to watch. But I think the scholarships are particularly rewarding, not only for the families, but for our board of directors and our staff.
Sure. And what about the field of interest opportunity? Can you tell us a little bit about that and give us an example?
Sure. A field of interest fund is a permanent fund. It's a little different than a scholarship. And that is where a donor comes in and says, I'd really like to give back to the community in some way. But my wife and I really feel very strongly about veterans, or we feel very strongly about special needs children, or we feel strongly about food shortage. And so in that case, when you define something you specifically care about, we call that a field of interest. And so we create a fund for you, and you put money with us. You receive a tax deduction from the very first day that you put the initial deposit with us, and you're really investing in the future of that field of interest. You want your money to go for veterans, or you want your money to go for special needs kids. And so we draw up a contract. We say that you decide to put $5,000 in the fund initially, and then you can make grants through us and give that money back out just like you would do normally with a charitable donation. Only we take care of writing the check. We take care of all your tax receipts. We take care of making sure that your money arrives where it is supposed to go and that it's used for what it's supposed to be used for. So when you create a field of interest fund with us, let's even say you decide you want it only to go to the arts. And so we are talking with nonprofit arts organizations every day, and we know what they have going. And so we can suggest to you, gosh, they're actually bringing on a whole new flute section at the symphony, and they really need XYZ to do that. Would you consider putting your money towards symphony in this particular project? We'll be happy to follow up and make sure that that's exactly what happens to your gift. And you don't spend it all at one time, so you can make grants throughout the year in smaller amounts. And so it really is a nice way to execute your own strategic philanthropic plan, but let us orchestrate all of that for you.
So the funds really make a difference in the community, don't they?
They do. They do. And when you have 129 funds like the Starved Country Community Foundation has now, we have several funds, dedicated to the arts. We have several funds dedicated to mental health, which we'll talk about in a minute. And so that really gives the donor a lot of freedom and kind of a wide berth that they can expand the money back out to the community.
Okay.
So.
How does a donor advised fund differ from a donor designated fund? How are they different?
Okay, a donor designated fund is kind of like the field of interest fund, but the designated fund, instead of being able to do anything for veterans or anything for the homeless or special needs kids, that's your field of interest. With a donor designated fund, you're drilling down even further and you're saying, not only do I only want to do something for special needs kids, I only want to give to these two designated organizations for the rest of my life. And you make those designations right up front, and they cannot be changed. And there's a maximum of 5 allowed by our foundation. Some community foundations only allow 1. But there are lots of people, especially older people, who have been supporting organizations their whole lives. And they're worried when they pass away, those organizations are going to go without, or their family's going to choose to put their money somewhere else. So by coming to the Community Foundation and creating a designated fund, that designation follows that money forever. And so those organizations you name will be assured that forevermore they will be taken care of long after you're gone, because we will continue to orchestrate your giving in perpetuity. Wow. So the Donor Advised Fund, sorry to interrupt you, the Donor Advised Fund is the most broad, most flexible fund, because what you're doing there is, again, you're coming to us with a certain amount of money. you're investing it in the community, but instead of saying, I'm only going to give to veterans, or I'm only going to give to these two organizations, or I'm only going to have a scholarship, this fund allows you to put all of your money into one big pot with us called a donor advised fund. And then as the donor, you advise us as the years go by, as long as you have money in there, where you would like that money to go. And there are no restrictions other than we only give to nonprofit organizations.
Okay.
By charter, we cannot do anything but 501c3s or other cultural organizations.
Okay.
We are not able to give to individuals unless it's in a disaster situation. So, for example, you can't have a donor advised fund and then decide to give it to your brother-in-law's cousin, sister,
Sure.
because she needs some money. Like, it has to go to specific 501c3 organizations.
Can groups create funds too?
Groups can do funds with us in two ways. So if you are an existing nonprofit organization and you want to use the services of the Community Foundation, you can come to us and create an endowment with us, meaning that your organization continues to support itself.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have sufficient dollars that you start to save for the future, you bring that money to the Community Foundation. We set it up in an endowment situation for you. An endowment means that the capital or the principal, the money that you put in there, will never be spent.
Mm-hmm.
But the interest that is earned and the dividends when we invest your money, those are available to you as an organization. So for a lot of organizations that have been around a long time, they're maybe starting to build some wealth for their future. But I have to say that, especially sometimes with smaller organizations, you have significant changeover sometimes in your board of directors, or your executive director leaves. And sometimes the objectives of different people don't mesh very well on how they're going to spend the money that's in the organization. So a lot of organizations, if they can afford it, will carve off some savings, bring that to us, put that money away for a rainy day, and we're investing it on their behalf. And because we invest nearly $4 million right now together, we're getting, and we have a specialized investment firm, we're getting great returns for the organizations that come to us and ask us really to help them save money. So we do that for them. The other way is through what's called a fiscal sponsorship, and I think that's probably the last session we go through today. We want to keep our listeners fresh and on task with us, so I don't want to go too long, but the fiscal sponsorship is designed for a like-minded group of people. So what happens when in your community when a bunch of moms and dads get together and they want to do something about the neighborhood, or they want to do something about something going on at the school, or maybe one of your cherished nonprofits has gone out of business for some reason and people want to carry that torch. And so when you have a group of people come together, they know they have a cause, they have a little bit of money, they can't really set up a fund with us right away because they're not even sure if their idea is going to work. And they have no way to collect donations. So if they sign an agreement with the Community Foundation, we will serve as their fiscal sponsor. That means we handle their finances, we give them oversight, we kind of protect their money. They put the money with us, we make sure it gets in the right spot, we invest it for them. And that whole time, they're getting their rights to act like a nonprofit business through us. And so as that fiscal sponsor, we can offer a lot of wonderful opportunities for them to get going, get a couple fundraisers off the ground, find out if people are going to listen to them, or if their grand idea is really going to work.
What a great service.
And so
yeah.
that's another service that we have.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of other different, offshoots of some of these funds and some rules and regulations, of course, for investing certain types of dollars. But for today's purpose, I'm just glad to be able to tell you about the main funds that we have, a little bit about how they work, and obviously to thank you and your family for coming along and
Yes.
creating two of them.
Yes.
And yours is a field of interest fund because you were kind enough to serve two communities in Central Illinois. Erin's funds benefit the city of Marseilles, Illinois, and the city of Seneca, Illinois, all parts of Starbuck Country.
Yes.
So I'm so glad you're with us today, and I'm more honored and pleased that you chose to partner with the Community Foundation.
Well, it's amazing to see the impact that the foundation has on our community. It's just what you do is so honorable, and I'm so happy to be a part of it.
Well, thank you. So for people listening out there, you can join our website at srccf.org. We also have some brochures that we'd be happy to send you. We have a Facebook page, or you can call our office at any time. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
All
It's
right.
been a
We'll talk to you
pleasure.
again soon, Erin.